now, Democratic Congresswoman Karen Bass of California, who serves on both the Judiciary and Foreign Affairs committees. Good to see you here in Los Angeles, though I wish you were in studio with me. We're usually long distance, and they've still kept us apart. Anyway, let's get right to your impressions, first of all, about the expectations for General Kelly as the Chief of Staff. I know that your fellow California Congresswoman Barbara Lee has said the president is militarizing this position. Kelly is an extremist, particularly on immigration. That's what she has said. What is your take?
Well, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. And, you know, to see the tweets that happened over the weekend about North Korea and the danger that that puts us in, and I'm sure the fear that is struck in our allies, South Korea and Japan, I think one of the first tests of the new Chief of Staff will be, will he be able to prevent that? You know, the prior person said we have to let Trump be Trump, but letting Trump be Trump has created chaos, not only in our country, but internationally. All right, speaking of internationally, I want you to keep your hat on and part of the Foreign Affairs Committee here as we get to the U.S. bombers, two of whom, which flew over the Korean Peninsula today, all in a show of force after North Korea's latest missile launch. The president was tweeting criticism of China, expressing some very clear dissatisfaction with their efforts to stop North Korea's missile program, or lack thereof. Now, some may argue about the method, you know, Twitter, but does the president have a point? Well, you know, who knows if he has a point, but that is just no way to conduct foreign policy. He wants China to cooperate with us, and so he blasts China in the form of a tweet. That's exactly what I was referring to. I think that we have to be very serious. This is a tremendous threat, not just to our country, but to our allies, and so there needs to be a strategy within the White House. There is no way that anybody believes there's a strategy right now, because they might be negotiating inside the White House. He comes out and tweets something entirely different. So I think that's very destructive behavior, and I'm hoping that the new Chief of Staff will be able to bring a stop to that.
But, ma'am, do you think the U.S. has not been demanding enough of the Chinese in this regard?
Well, I think that there needs to be a sit-down meeting where there is a full comprehensive strategy, and it's very difficult to tell because all we have are the tweets. Now, what I'm hoping when we go back into session is that we will have hearings and try to get some sense to see if there is a strategy. We really can't tell right now.
North Korea is saying that these latest missiles are capable of reaching the U.S. mainland, and I spoke with an expert who said the U.S. has almost zero options when it comes to halting North Korea's march to a nuclear-enabled ICBM. Is that your sense? Are there no good options, and what would you like to see done?
Well, I do think that there are options, and to me, I absolutely believe the options rest with our ability to have a strong relationship with China, with the United Nations, and that the whole world comes together. But again, I think it's very difficult when the person who had been the leader of the free world leads in such an erratic fashion. And so we don't have a sense in the Foreign Affairs Committee if inside the White House everybody has come together and decided on a strategy. At this point, there's no way to tell.
All right, let's move on to the Russia sanctions bill, which, you know, the president is expected to sign. Russia is now retaliating, seizing U.S. properties in that country. Here's what the deputy Russian foreign minister had to say about that this morning.
If the U.S. side decides to move further towards further deterioration, we will answer, we will respond in kind. We will mirror this, we will retaliate. But my call and my whole point is, don't do this. It's to the detriment of the interests of the U.S.
Level of retaliation there certainly being indicated. Are the sanctions worth risking a deteriorating relationship with Russia? I mean, what would it take to reset this relationship again?
Well, I absolutely think that we had to respond. I mean, the response from this administration has been to essentially be an apologist for Russia. So I know that the president signed the bill, but he didn't have a choice, because if he didn't sign the bill, which you know that he was trying to water down until the very last minute, if he didn't sign the bill, we were going to override his veto. So he really didn't have a choice. I think it puts him in a very difficult situation, especially with the ongoing investigation administrations, and we really haven't gotten to the bottom of what the relationship has been with the president, with his family, with his associates, and the Russian government. And so it'll be interesting to see how we move this further along. But I think it'll be very difficult to reset a relationship with Russia until we get to the bottom of what is the relationship with this administration and the Russian government, not just during the campaign, but years back. What are the financial entanglements?
And we'll see if we ever get to the bottom of that, that's for sure.
We will.
It's a mixed bag. Okay, then we'll take your word for it. It might take a while, though. I know that you called the president's decision to ban transgender Americans from serving in the military, quote, disgusting. In fact, here is what a former Navy SEAL told me about the president's decision.
Look at more than the bottom line. This is not a business. It's not like one of his buildings there in New York City. This is people. The military is strong because of the quality of the folks. We go through selection process, we do everything else. Leave the doors wide open.
Would you add anything to what Kristen Beck is saying there? And do you think the president, do you think the decision by this president makes our country less safe?
Well, I absolutely do. I absolutely do. And let me just use this as an example, because remember, the military said they were going to examine what the policy was around transgenders, people participating in the military. They said that they were going to release a report in several months. So the president preempts that with the form of a tweet without recognizing that you are talking about thousands of people who are in the military today, in active duty, defending the country around the world. They wake up and find out, while they're putting their lives on the line, they wake up and find out, well, I guess I'm being, discharged. Is it going to be honorably? Is it going to be dishonorably? Should I pack my bags? Should I go? What kind of leader does that to his troops? This is the commander-in-chief. How are they supposed to have respect for him?
Yeah, well, fortunately, the leaders in the Pentagon have usurped those concerns and said, for now, things are status quo. So, all right, Representative Karen Bass, good to see you. Next time in studio, make it a promise.
Absolutely.
Thank you.